everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Kate. I'm back after about a 9-month hiatus, and I am back with my friend and media coach, Elizabeth Walker.
Great to be here.
Cheers. I will admit I do not have coffee in my mug. I have water.
Me too. So we're good.
Both in Colorado, and it's hot here, so it seems like a cold water kind of day. So thank you for making the time to be with us. So we are going to be talking about media coaching today. We're going to be talking most specifically about how to be confident on camera to do your own video streams, live streams, recordings, etc. And Elizabeth is the premier guru for this right now. So before we get there, I also want to just give you a little bit of a story on how I actually know Elizabeth. So truth be told, Elizabeth and I have known each other since we were about 5. Her older brother was actually in my class where we both grew up in Vermont. And as time went on, we became really good buddies and rode bikes together and all the stuff in our neighborhood. And as time went on, even into high school, we both had an interest in broadcast, but we didn't really know it at the time. Like, we knew we wanted to do something. Like, Elizabeth was doing stage work for school plays and things like that. And I was on the school yearbook staff, and I was always the photographer. And so we were both kind of into some form of media. And so we've known each other since we were little. And we've sort of, in a career standpoint, lived kind of a parallel life. So while I went into public relations and broadcast journalism, Elizabeth went to school in Boston at Emerson, right?
Yep.
And she wanted to do something similar. We both actually worked for a small cable TV station in our hometown of Stowe, Vermont, way back in the time, filming planning commission meetings and doing ski event type stuff. And so that was kind of our story. But I want to just give you some of the professional background, because Elizabeth's career is really quite something. So she served 20 years as a television producer, working with networks like the Food Network, Showtime, Stars, and was supervising producer for multiple HGTV series. And she is now the founder and CEO of Elizabeth Walker Media. She's helped thousands honing messages and on-camera presence for Fortune 200 executives and global solopreneurs, producing countless TV episodes, directing on-air talent from the newbie to the network, and leading hundreds of mindset-shifting sessions with her 30-year background in personal development. She also started her own coaching business in 2010 and was tapped by 2 7- and 8-figure global brands to coach their clients in business marketing and messaging. So today, Elizabeth is an on-camera coach and a media and messaging expert, and that is what we are going to talk about today. So Elizabeth, just kind of give us a little snapshot of here we are, sort of two women who grew up in small town Vermont, both kind of ending up in the world of broadcast in one way or another. How did you end up at, let's just say, how did you end up at HGTV?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I have to thank you for getting my first job at that little cable station that sparked it all. So fun, just being behind the scenes and all the equipment. And that really, helped me begin to look for this thing I wanted to do in television. And so I have to thank you to do that. But, today, helping high achieving women really know what to say, get comfy and credible on camera. That is so fun for me, because as a TV producer, right, I've always been working on camera presence. I've always been working on messaging and targeting the audience, and then doing great content that gets media attention. But getting to HGTV was, I always wanted to get to the network. I started very low budget, like you and I did. And
yes, we did. Low budget. We, in fact, we weren't being paid.
Right. Yeah. So low budget. And so when I got to that level, I was like, oh, thank gosh, higher budgets. I didn't have to touch the equipment. And it was just so much fun, traveling the country and producing these series and then leading the team, for these network shows about home and gardens, which, by the way, as a producer, you don't have to know anything about. I had to learn it. So a little insider secret.
We were not that, were we?
No, but we're trained to produce content, right? To ask the right questions. You were trained as a journalist, and so we're trained to ask the right questions to pull out the right kind of show.
Right. Yeah, we can pivot, right? I mean, That's one of the neat things about I love what I do, and I would imagine you feel similarly, is that like we get exposed when we are in the world of media, broadcast, journalism, whatever, there's all this, it all kind of flows together. We get exposed to so many different people in so many different industries that like it becomes just part of like why we do what we do. And it's part of why I absolutely love what I do. And as you get to know people or as you get to interview people, you start to learn about all these different industries, and you can actually really speak pretty intelligently about some of these because of the people that you meet. So
Yeah.
I mean were you, when you were a producer for HGTV and you were coming up with the content, how much of a role were you playing in like not necessarily interviewing but sort of interviewing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, as a story producer to begin with, you have to sit down with the homeowners and pull the story out of them, and interview them and, listen for sound bites, listen for the story that you've already researched and then putting it together. Once you get back, you have to write it, you have to log all the sound bites and put the whole story together. And so that's how I started, and interviewing. And you're absolutely right that, as entrepreneurs, there are so many topics, right? Whether you're a health coach, a relationship specialist, there's so much content out there, and it's so fun because I believe that, we're all our own shows. We're
Yes.
all our own shows, which is fun.
That you make a great point. As I mentioned to you before in the green room, we were talking about, like I said, oh my gosh, I'm seeing you all on social media in the last, week or so. And you're like, yep, I've finally been launching because you're sort of in a new iteration of your business. You've been doing this for a very long time, but now with Elizabeth Walker Media, you're in this new sort of iteration, helping people, with their video and camera confidence. But,
Yeah.
when you, like, for example, like, wasn't one of the shows you did on HGTV, correct me if I'm wrong, If These Walls Could Talk?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and I remember when you and I kind of connected back then through email or something like that. And I'm like, oh, how cool. But, what I think your point is that we all create our own content, and we all have a lot of content in our back pocket. And sometimes we don't think about it. And we also can use these online channels that we have to what you just said, to use your words, to create our own network. And you did a really great video about that this week on social media. Can you just talk about more about that? Because you talked about a show, you talked about a channel, and you talked about a network.
Yeah. So just so everybody knows, and Kate may remember this, but I actually was a very shy child, very quiet. And this has been like, thank gosh for personal development, where I found myself, and I invite all of you to find yourself and enjoy your life. But, coming out and doing social, I had a hard time with like, really, I have to be visible. Come on. Like, I love behind the scenes, and, I will avoid being seen. And over these last 5 years of really working on that and saying, all right, get over myself. I don't have to be perfect. That truly helped. But I had to reframe social media because I was resisting it. And I know a lot of the ladies I work with and you work with, right? We resist social media. We don't want to be seen. It's not the great day for it to be seen. And so I really look at social media as, oh my gosh, we have these broadcast channels, and I've got to target my person. I got to go find my person online, and they've got to connect with me and just give value. So I love having just that reframe of a mini broadcast channel. And then, like I said, this week, if you're on multiple platforms, as you should be, like, you have your own network. It is your own network. So that's really helped me come to peace with doing social media.
I loved that you said that, because I've never thought of it that way. I mean, you and I are different, but we have similar type of, background in what we do to help our clients. But I had never thought of it as like the multiple channels. Now, just as a quick little, let's just kind of dig into that just a little bit more. When we say multiple channels, by no means are we saying you need to be on all of them.
No.
Please, 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 for your own sake, pick the channels that are relevant to you. Now, sometimes what we do is we pick a channel because we like it. But if that is a channel where your ideal client or your audience isn't necessarily living on, that may not be the right channel for you. So maybe you could expand on that.
Yeah. So in working with a lot of clients, they think they have to be, there's the big six. So y'all got to be on the big six. And I'm like, no, you don't. right? Like pick 3 or 4. And I even say, if you're a solopreneur, pick 2 that you can really get consistent at. And if you have a team, then do 6. But if you're not, doing enough content, you don't need all 6. Pick some of your favorites, just like you said, But I think the biggest thing is, that consistent content over time. It is hard to kind of think of what I'm going to say on social media, but you just got to think about your ideal client and who you're trying to serve.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's play a little what if game. Okay. So if you are a coach, if you are an entrepreneur who is a coach, like let's say a life coach, what channels would you recommend for that life coach to be on? Not just for the social piece, but specifically from the standpoint of like, video and having a live stream show if you're using StreamYard or Restream or whatever. I use StreamYard. It's my favorite. But give us kind of like, let's sort of play a little game here.
Yeah. Well, I love to say this. I've said it in my mini trainings that, granted, Facebook, you can't beat everyone's on Facebook. Okay. And I've had people say, well, all my people are on LinkedIn. And I'm like, yeah, but on the weekend, the CEO is on Facebook posting their kids' soccer games.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So I love Facebook, right, for its reach and for its ad capability. Instagram, maybe, right? A lot of people's clients, they're on Instagram, and that's a really popular channel for them. So those are given, and you can cross post, and so it makes it easier. And if you are a coach and you need to be doing video, you've all heard this message by now. YouTube is a given.
I was just going to say, I was hoping you would say that. So talk about why YouTube is a given.
Yeah, because its sole purpose is to house your videos, all your videos, and we can consume all the content that you're putting out, and you can create playlists and you can categorize, all this content. And there's a ton of people. There are, 5 billion views every single day on YouTube.
5 billion.
5
every
billion.
Day. Wow.
Yes,
I didn't even know that.
Okay. So, so when you look at statistics and the amount of people and the amount of views every single day, it's a given. Okay. And then LinkedIn, no offense, Kate, can be optional. It can be optional.
Well, but I will actually just add, I will push back on you respectfully on that.
Yes.
If you, anybody who's in business should be on. No other reason for you to create your digital footprint there. Because if people find you online, search for you, show up in Google, your LinkedIn profile shows up on page 1 of Google, oftentimes before your own website, if you have one. Yeah. So, and make sure that your profile is optimized, and so that people go there and they can see all of your credentials and your background, and send them, have a featured section to send them to these various places where you have digital assets. So from a content standpoint, it's a different animal for sure. But as far as having a presence there and thinking about this as like your personal brand page or your personal or your digital footprint, that's important.
Yeah. And I would agree. And I've worked with you, Kate. You've helped me optimize LinkedIn. And I will say, I've produced podcasts in the past. And as I researched guests, you're absolutely right. Their LinkedIn came up every single time. It didn't matter. I couldn't even find their website. I couldn't find other things about them, but by gosh, LinkedIn always came up. Yeah. So you're absolutely right. And a lot of people, they're like, well, I'm over posting on TikTok. And I'm like, TikTok's great, right? But can we just bite the elephant a little at a time? Okay. And people are posting daily on TikTok. It's like, awesome. If you're finding traction on TikTok, go for it. But you can see how, well, why shouldn't I go to Twitter or Threads now? And it's like, if you've got the time to post every single day on Twitter or Threads, go for it. But if you don't have the help, you can see how this just gets overwhelming. And the ladies that I've worked with over these years, they will shut down like I would.
Well, it becomes a time suck, unless they have a team and they have a social media manager who can do all this for them. Great. But it's still, no matter whether you're on 1, 2, or 6,
right,
you need a strategy.
Correct. Agreed.
One of the posts that you put up this week was about people who do Facebook Lives like almost every day.
Right.
And, talk about like, maybe that's too much. What is kind of like a best practice when you think about live streaming? And if you think you want to do it on a regular basis?
Yeah. So great question. I did post that this week. But here's why I say this. I co-led and or co-created and led a multi-million-dollar coaching program around online visibilities. And at the end of the program, and this was for a different company, Inspired Living with Carrie Murphy, to give her a shout out. At the end of their year, can you guess what they resisted and never really did the most?
Live video.
Going live. Okay. So I understand there are challenges.
What do I win? What do I win?
Why not win? You win. Yes. That, one of the ladies this week, she's like, I'm still going live. I'm doing a challenge, and that's great. I mean, some people need that. Some people really need to build that muscle. I admire that. I respect that. And at the same time, if you're in my feed every day for 30 days, and then you extend it to 60, and in my post, I said, why do you think Game of Thrones was dripped? And can you think of a show? I had to do some research because I was like, I don't think of a show. Can you think of a show, a broadcast show that's gone live for 30 days in a row? As a producer and on-camera coach, I'm trained to understand, okay, what's the message and how much is too much?
Right.
We would just get sick of you. And again, you could be the most beautiful soul on the planet. If Oprah went, speaking of a beautiful soul, if Oprah went live for 30 days, nah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think again, it all comes down to strategy. And I know that we as marketers always kind of have these words that we use all the time, but strategy is so important. And we could have a whole separate show about that. But you just said something that I kind of want to just kind of pivot to right now. And you talked about one of the things that you help people do and your clients do is with on-camera confidence. So let's talk about sort of the more seasoned entrepreneur. Maybe she's been in business for 2 or 3 years. She is her own brand. She speaks, she does all these things. But when it comes to doing, live video or any kind of video, or even just getting in front of a camera, a lot of people really get stuck or scared or frozen. Yeah. And so tell us, kind of give us a little bit of a picture of how you help people with their on-camera confidence. And really, I bet it's a mindset thing first.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, okay, well, then we're going to talk about the tools and the content and all that. But talk a little bit about getting confident and getting sort of excited about doing this. And I just have to give a shout out. My friend Phoenix Sagan just popped in.
Yay.
Phoenix, she's here in Colorado too.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I have to be honest, in my early television career, they were like, you have to be on camera. And I'm like, no, no, I don't.
I love this story. Is this a story about when literally the camera got turned on you?
Yeah. And I'll weave in, how I've had to learn this so that I can obviously, give you some tips here.
And was this was at HGTV, right?
No, this was prior. Yeah. This was at the largest cable company in the world, and I was producing these shows. I was actually working on messaging with, Fortune 200 executives and all these things. And they're like, no, you have to be on camera and host these shows. And there was nothing in the job description at all. And so you talk about, what's going to get a woman entrepreneur excited to be on camera. I was not excited when they asked me to do that. And I thought I had to be perfect. I had to play like I never trained as a, broadcast anchor. But let me see the face, but I thought I'd play one, and I put my hair up in a bun, and I had the suit, and of course, this is not to date myself, but this was in the 90s. And so I had the pink power suit. Well, the first time I went on live, I got hives. I was like, what are these blotches? Yeah. And at that point I had moved across the country by myself. I had bungee jumped out of a hot air balloon, never got hives, but you plunk me down in front of the camera and I'm like, oh, heck no. But I learned as an entrepreneur that I had to learn the strategy. I had to learn, so the biggest mindset thing that helped me was, I just have to be me.
Exactly.
I just have to be me. I can't be turn on the camera and go, hello, everybody. Do you have a toothache? And I was just watching a lady the other day, and she's got a great following, but she's like, do you have trauma in your life? And I'm like, oh my gosh. and so we just got to be real. We just have to, so that's what I really say to myself. I just have to be me, and be, and give value and show up in service. So that's the biggest piece. And another reframe that I've had to do is, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going out to millions of people online, millions, and all those cousins and brothers and mothers that you don't want to be seen by. Oh yeah, they're all watching you too. And so that can really mess with your head, Kate.
Yes, it can.
You know this.
And you know what? They're probably not really watching, actually.
They're not really watching. And some are, and they're judging, right?
Yeah.
You can feel it. They're judging.
And you know what? So what?
Yeah. And so that was it. And so a lot of times I teach, because this comes up in hundreds of people. So just know that when you're not happy to be visible, it's a thing. You know that you have to be you, and know that I just need to speak to my person I'm trying to reach.
Right.
I'm not speaking to everybody and millions online. So I kind of put on blinders and say, okay, the brothers or the cousins or the mothers, who cares? They don't get you as a business person. They never will. They see you as a great person and a friend. I'm not talking to them.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
And I'm not talking. So those are two pieces that really helped. And we talk about like this equipment piece. I never teach, like, you got to like spend all this money on professional video. And so the fact that it is easy to use just your phone, a tripod, and a ring light, you could get away with that for years. A phone, a tripod, and a ring light, and a computer. I do like to go live on computer, just like you do.
I prefer it. First of all, I can just see it better.
I can see it better. Yeah, on the phone, the comments are coming in. I'm like, oh my God, I can't read it. And then it's tilted, right? But those are some things that really help me in understanding of, I just can flick on and start recording and or go live, and it's so much easier. It's so much easier.
Let's talk about the difference between, when is it the right time to, get like professionally produced videos, like for what purpose? And then when is the time that we can, use what we've got in our back pocket, right? Our phones.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And maybe we're outside, and maybe we are doing an interview with somebody, and some kind of thing. But like, talk about the difference between like when you do want to invest in the time and the purpose, because for the more polished video.
Yeah. So I'll work backward and say, we can use our phone for reels. We can use our phone for doing have videos that give lots of tips. Super easy, like all that stuff. And when you practice enough and you get to be the real you, it's just easier. Okay. It's accessible. You can have a desk tripod. You can have, a desk ring light even. You can polish up your background, but the phone's great for that. And even behind the scenes, right? Like, hey, I'm at the river and this is what I'm up to. So that's all super casual. You can do handheld, or you can, do a selfie stick with that. But professional video is awesome for a video on your website. Okay, the video explains, who you are and positions you as, why the person to teach what you teach. That I want you to spend money on that. Like, that's where you put the budget dollars. And then also for your lead magnet, your opt-in. If you're doing a video course, or, instead of a PDF, you could do a mini training, you could do a 3-part video series. I want you spending money on that. And, or if you do, if you're doing a new product, like your online course or your online modules, I want you to spend just a little bit there. Okay. Because people are paying you money for that. And that's a great place. And again, it doesn't have to be super expensive at all.
Right.
Yeah.
So what kind of content, if they're going to, hire someone or go to somebody's studio to record, what kind of content would they be making? Like, and how many, like, if they're making videos to put on their website and maybe also on their YouTube channel, we'll get back to that, because there's a whole strategy with that. But what kind of videos should they be producing that are the more professional?
Oh, so sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
My dog's snoring over here. So.
Okay. I was like, okay, welcome to live TV.
Yes.
And so you get used to these, you roll right through it and keep talking. So content wise, you always have to think. A lot of people are challenged by coming up with content. That's the biggest thing I work with.
Always.
Is like, and you do too. Like, what do I say? And I go, this, and this. Like in a month, you're going to say this, this. And they go, oh, that's so good. I go, yeah, it's easy on my side to do your content, right? When we're so close to it, it could be a little challenging, but I want you to think and this is the biggest thing that I've had to learn is what does my client or customer need to hear this month? What do they need to hear? Or are there holidays or seasons or things coming up in the month that you want to tell your customer or client about?
Right.
Okay. So doing videos on really tips and giving value is a lot. I mean, that's a reel, right? And that's a reel. Yeah. Or tip video.
It's funny. I'll share just for the people who are listening to this, and especially those who are listening on the replay. Thank you. When I've had Instagram for a while, but I just never did much on it. I mean, basically Facebook and LinkedIn were my comfort zones. And then I realized that reels are really something that I should be doing. And then when I started working with people about doing the reels, I'm like, oh, well, you can get more bandwidth out of those reels by posting them to your YouTube channel as a short.
Right.
And so that's what we do now. So all of my videos, whether it's my reels that I do, my video tutorials on LinkedIn features or updates, or my Coffee with Kate show, all of that now lives and is archived essentially on my YouTube channel. And the reason for that is because YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, everybody. It's owned by Google.
That's right.
And so when we embed any of my videos, reels, shorts, Coffee with Kate replays, we pull it from the YouTube playlist, the channels, so that whenever somebody views it, I can track, the views and I get credit for that view.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I started doing reels in January. There's a woman here in Colorado. Her name is Chris Gosnell. So shout out to Chris Gosnell. She's both a photographer and a videographer. And I go to her studio every month and I produce 4 reels, one a week. And she gives me like prompts and everything. And then it's a lot of it's about personal branding and LinkedIn, but like they're starting to build my Instagram following, but I'm also getting extra bandwidth out of them in other places. So I put them on my LinkedIn. I put them on my Facebook.
That's right.
And, and it creates conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And you bring up a great point is, I think this point is missed where we're not creating different content for all the different platforms.
Correct.
Right. And that's what you're saying also is, produce your content, but then it goes out to all your platforms.
Repurpose it.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a big tip on repurposing. What a lot of people do, just because it's easy, and I get that, is they will schedule all of their content on all the same channels on the same day at the same time. And you are losing a huge opportunity because no one person can be on Instagram, Facebook, all at the same time. Yeah. So spread out your posts. You can repurpose the same content, but spread them out on different ones, and I mean, we could get into using hashtags, because each platform has its own sort of hashtag algorithm.
Right.
And so, there's all the different ways that you can get some extra traction on that.
Yeah. And I think to bring it back to visibility, I think, again, see, this right here is what stops women, very talented women, from starting. Because all of a sudden it's like, well, now I got to learn the hashtag thing. And now I got to learn this thing. Right. And I come from the camp of just get on. You're going to be messy. So let's deal with, you're going to be messy. You're not going to go live, or you're going to cut yourself off, or the dog's going to bark. I had 2 years ago, this was my worst case scenario. I was in a Facebook group and there was 13,000 people in there. I'm going live and I was, facing these windows, and it was summertime and a storm came through. And the lightning struck like right outside the window. So I'm just like, la, 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 going, so blah, blah, blah. And then bam. And I literally scream and shut my eyes like something's going to cave in. So guess what? Like that's going to happen. It's going to be messy. And guess what? Just acknowledge it and move on. And people will begin to appreciate who you are. And then the more you do it, the easier it gets. I can't tell you, like in the beginning, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so awkward. Right. Yeah. And, I think you were always natural, Kate, because you were brought up, I think, doing it naturally and studying it and wanting to be on air. And again, I come from that, like, oh Lord, I don't want to do this, but we have to.
Well, I thought I wanted to be on air. And then when I was in college going through, and I had to do, like, we had a college TV station, and I mean, small market, right? But it was, and then I was like, something, I actually think I'd really rather be behind the scenes. I think I'd rather be a producer, which I was really never a producer, but I was a writer. I was creating the content. I was finding the visuals and all of the stuff we need, because that's something that a lot of people don't realize in broadcast, is that, you don't just get the talking head. You have to get what we call B-roll, which is basically getting pictures of things behind the scenes, so that when you edit, you can cut away to B-roll. And a lot of people don't realize that that's something you have to take into account. And that was a big deal. And of course, back in the day when you and I were first doing this, digital didn't even exist. We were all doing it on tape. We were doing it on 3/4 inch tape, beta, super VHS, it was just, there were all these different mediums. But content has always been the hook.
Right. Yeah. And I'd rather have someone go after, do more content and more engaging content and natural, and what your client really, like, don't talk about stuff your client really doesn't care about. Right. Yes, we want to hear you and behind the scenes of you, and they will care about that. But, content is always going to win over production value. I'd rather just have you go on, not even think about B-roll or certain, like, the pop-up emojis that come on. Like, if you watch YouTube and it's like bing, bing, bing. When you watch, the biggest YouTuber in history, Mr. Beast, who has millions, multi-millions of followers, like that, they spend $30,000 a month just on producing content.
Wow.
So when you think, so don't compare. That's another piece of getting that. Natural on camera. Don't be going off and looking at all these people, and then you get on camera and you're like, wah, like, I'm not that person. Okay. Because there's a budget going into these people, and they got the bells and the whistles and the sound effects. And you're thinking, oh, I'm just a talking head. I'd rather have that. People care about that more, about the message and the content, more than a production value. And great, when you get a little higher budget, you can hire someone to come in and do some of your reels or tip videos, but it is not needed.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not needed right now.
So what do you think about, I just lost my train of thought. Speaking of authentic, well, I'm going to go back to some other point. So what we both have been talking about, and it's a word you and I each use in our respective businesses, is visibility. And there's a quote that I use a lot in my talks, in my presentations on stage. And it's a quote by a gentleman by the name of Coca Sexton, who was the former head of social media at LinkedIn, back when LinkedIn first came about. And the quote is simply this: visibility creates opportunity. So expand on that, because sometimes I think when we hear about personal branding or we hear about visibility, we think it's this amorphous thing. And does it really matter? Is it going to really make the cash register ring? Right. And the answer is actually yes. So why don't you share with us your viewpoint on that?
Yeah. So great question. So you got to give it some time. Right. But a lot of people are like, I've had people like, well, I've been doing my videos for 2 months and nothing. I'm like, yeah, you got to go longer.
Yeah.
You got to go a lot longer.
It's a long game.
It's a long game, but guaranteed. I've watched this as I've taught this and taught hundreds of this. Guaranteed, if you do the right strategy, okay, you get polished, not perfect, and you post content that your clients love, your customers want to hear about. And don't forget promotion. Don't over promote, but you can certainly sell in certain areas. But consistently, in about 4, 5, 6 months, I know that sounds like a long time, but again, there's offline sales strategies. So please keep working offline sales strategies. People started noticing. So what happens is they will silently watch you. You won't even know it. You're like, it's crickets. They are silently watching you. Right. Then you get some likes. Then you'll get some followers. And then when you put out something, they are finally ready to buy. But what I noticed all the time, they'd start getting opportunities to speak on bigger stages, right? And to,
or be a podcast guest,
go do interviews. And that always happened. Now they
Right.
got sold at, right? But because they could be seen, they could be found, these opportunities came up. So I'm a firm believer, like it's coming. I no longer doubt that opportunity comes, even as short as 3 months. Like, hey, I mean, as I started posting and talking about my brand, I mean, I had this opportunity. I've got 2 more opportunities like this. And then it snowballs and then it starts to build.
Right.
Yeah.
When you get these opportunities, like if you get to be a podcast guest, if you get to be on my Coffee with Kate show, please contact me. But you can then get mileage out of these through your social media. You can put it in your website. You can make it a blog. You can add it to your YouTube channel. I mean, you can get so much more, like you said, snowball. You can get so much more reach out of this. I want to give a quick shout out to Skeeter, who just said, so good to see former delights. She used to work for my father.
Yeah.
So it's fun to have so many people watching, but I'll give you a good example just to your point. Like right now I'm on StreamYard. I have all this like back end stuff that I'm looking at. It tells me how many people are viewing, but it only tells me how many people are viewing me right now on Facebook. I'm also broadcasting concurrently to my LinkedIn profile and to my YouTube channel, but it doesn't show who's watching on LinkedIn and YouTube. The other thing is most people with live video, whether it's live video or whatever, or streaming, watch the replay. The majority of people watch the replay. So, don't be like, I'm on here right now and it says, there's 6 people, but that's only on Facebook. Right. But you know what? It only takes one person to learn something. And we are here to help people, right? We are here to help people be successful. You and I both want that for people. As you and I are both members of eWomen Network. And, eWomen has their 9 values that you say before every meeting. 2 that resonate with me the most are lift others as you climb and give first, share always. And I think that's what helps build trust in people, is that when, just like to your point earlier about being authentic on video, when you are you, people want to do business with somebody they can relate to. They want to be connected to somebody who they feel comfortable with. And when they're not comfortable and they build a connection, that builds trust. And if they have an offline conversation with you, that could lead to a transaction. It could lead to a, but we're really here to be, especially with you and I being, more spiritual types, from our personal development. This is why we do what we do. We're here to help others be successful.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my main mission is to change lives, right? Yeah. Just like my clients and like your clients. And my personal mission is I want to give women a voice, because I know how it feels to not have a voice and not speak up. And I had to learn that, and if I can help someone be more visible, then they get to change more lives. And then I help the next woman become more visible. They get to change more lives. And the impact is bigger.
Yes,
the impact is bigger. Yeah. And I wanted to talk, there's a catch-22. I do teach women to pitch to the media because I want them to be seen as an expert. Like my mission is I want to stop the awkward moments. I want to stop like you ladies all not looking at the lens over here. Where's the lens, or too much headroom, right? Because it completely depositions you as an expert. And when you've got way too much headroom, right? And Kate, you're always good about that, making the frame look good. And, you have so much talent, but people won't trust you. They won't follow you because you don't look the part.
Right.
And so, but the catch-22 is when we want to be the expert, then I want you to do interviews with the media. Okay. Mm-hmm. I want you pitching to the media, but the first thing, or a podcast host, what's the first thing they do? You know this, Kate. Oh, I had a request to come on my podcast, or, oh, we got a pitch in the newsroom. What's the first thing they're going to do?
Look you up.
Yeah. And what are
they're going to look you up online? They're going to type your name into Google and they're going to see what happens.
Yep. Yeah. And if you've asked to speak on their stage, again, they're going to go watch your content.
Yep.
They're going to watch your videos.
Well, they're going to vet you. They want to make sure that they want, this is their show. They want somebody who's going to come on, who's going to be articulate, who's going to, understand what it's like to do a media type thing. They want to know that somebody has some chops, if you will, before they bring you on. And they want to know that you can, be articulate and informative and also serve. Yes. I mean, we are there. We're not just there. I didn't have you on, and you'll all notice this, especially on the replay. I didn't have you on to pitch your services. I didn't have
Right.
you on
Right.
to sell something. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I want people to connect with you. I would love it if
Of
people want
course.
to have a follow-on conversation with you. I mean, to me, we're both here to help people. And by
Yeah.
the way, for those of you who are still watching, if you have any questions whatsoever about what we're talking about today, about camera confidence, having your own live video show, YouTube, whatever, please ask a question here, and we'll answer it. Elizabeth will answer it. Before we go any further, I want to shout out to those people who are on. Thank you for watching. And where are some places that people can connect with you, Elizabeth?
Yeah. So you can go to my website, elizabethwalkermedia.com. That's, main central there. You can always email me at Elizabeth Walker Media. How many times can I say my name? and
And they can connect with you on LinkedIn?
On LinkedIn. Thanks to Kate, they can now connect with me on LinkedIn. And I am connected with a lot of folks I know on LinkedIn or don't know. So
let's, why don't you just share with us, what are the ways that you work with your clients? How do you primarily work with your clients?
Yeah. So because the women are high achieving, and being on camera can be very vulnerable, that I am one-on-one. I am high touch. I lead them through what I call polishing, the 3 stages of polishing, and then producing content, and then pitching to the media. So I hold hands, ladies. I hold hands.
Yes.
And we do a lot of practice. We don't go live until we're ready. And but we get comfortable and credible first, and then we move into, okay, here's the content, here's the, this video here, this live here, get the YouTube channel up and running. And then once that content's going out, it's pitching to the media, and it's very easy. And I show you how to do that, so you can do it on your own,
Right.
and go that way. So
can you work with everybody virtually, or do you have to meet them in person, or
nope.
is it
I've worked with people all over the world.
Okay.
Yeah. So I set up backgrounds, like it's all virtual. And I meet with them every week, and we talk a lot about that mindset piece. We talk about, like, I'm not comfortable doing this. We talk about the fears. It's just not like, okay, go say this, but it's done, again, like I said, with easy equipment, and without scripting.
Yeah.
Just bullet pointing, and it can be done. Believe it
Right.
or not, it can be done, because we want you connected to the lens and to the message, not to like trying to remember that word and, or the sentence you wrote down, because that doing video will become unsustainable. You cannot script. You are going to do so much content that it becomes unsustainable to actually write everything out. I mean, you will burn out if you do that.
So that leads me to a really good, I think, a really good question. How do you suggest, when people are creating their video content? Because I do this a little bit, but I know some people who do this as a system, is to like plan a day or a half a day or whatever, and just, you might have to change your outfits 3 or 4 times so it doesn't look like it was all shot on the same day, but you can bulk record.
Correct.
So talk to us about that and what the advantage is to that.
Yeah, well, it's a time saver.
Right.
And, I just bulked 3 reels because, I just needed 3 reels for July. You can bulk your tip videos. You can bulk this content. So you only have to do hair and makeup once. Okay. And then you swap out your clothes, and you can change up your backgrounds, depending on what you're doing. You can have the same background for your tip videos and things like that, but reels, you can change it up. And you just get ready for that day. And all of a sudden, guess what? Your content is ready for the month. And I've watched people try to do it on Mondays. I'm going to do all that on Monday. I'm like, yeah. I have watched women, like, on top of everything else they have to do, all of a sudden it becomes Tuesday. All of a sudden it becomes next week. All of a sudden they just don't get it done.
Right.
But for me, I need to get it on my calendar, or else guess what? I will be shuffling papers. Yeah. I will be doing other things.
Walk the dog.
Walk the dog. But I will begin to resist this.
Right.
Because again, being seen is vulnerable.
Right.
And until you're comfortable, you will resist. And so, by gosh, like, have a day, half day, and bulk it, like you said.
I will even share, I speak on stages. I've been on video. I've been, people look at me and they go, oh my God, you must be so used to this. You know what? I'm used to it because I know how to do it. But every single time, even when I just went 2 days ago to record my reels for July,
Yeah.
Every time I do, I get a little butterflies. I go like, oh my gosh, I'm such a, I'm I'm so goofy,
Yeah.
I
You're
can't
right.
believe I'm doing this. And then I'm like, oh my, I'm like, I do my own eye roll to myself.
Right.
And it's not something, it's not natural, and yet once you do it though, and if you shift your mindset to it's the visibility piece, and if I'm going to do it, then I might as well have fun. And
Right.
then when you think about it that way, you're going to come across as you.
Correct.
And you don't have to look perfect, and you don't have to have perfect makeup, and you don't have to have all the bells and whistles. I think everybody should be hearing that message loud and clear.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I will say, it does help to have, even if you have a business coach, to really look at your content and go have them, evaluate, because we're too close to it.
Right.
We might be too silly. We might be too, like, I tend to be too serious, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I'm passionate, and but having someone else kind of look and critique lovingly, and someone you trust,
Hmm.
that because then you can go, oh, I'm going to do more of that and less
Hmm.
of this. And then
Right.
over time, it's just so much easier. Like when you shot and did bulk stuff, and then you get to be your own coach after a
Exactly.
while. You're like, oh, I know exactly what I don't need to do
Exactly.
anymore. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Again, it boils down to visibility. The name of my business is standing out online. And sometimes what I'll say on a Coffee with Kate show or on From the Stage, and I'll be about, when you do these strategies on LinkedIn, it'll help you stand out online and off.
Right.
Because what happens is you start to, you start to realize what your own persona is, like how you're going to show up, which is you. But as you do it more and you get more comfortable with it, that carries over into when you go to a networking event. You start to get really good at how you talk about what you do without sounding like the 30-second elevator speech.
Right.
Having a 30-second elevator speech is a great place to start because it gives you a foundation. And if you're new to it, then it's good to sort of have that little 30-second script. Try to have it in your head though, not reading
Right.
from a piece of paper.
Right.
And then as you do this over time and you start putting yourself out there, I mean, I hear from people all the time, oh my gosh, I saw you on this. I saw you on that. And there's a part of me that kind of goes, oh God, am I out there too much? And at the same time, it's like, you know what? That's when you are your own brand,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
you and I each are, we have to sort of walk the talk
Yeah.
in order for us to teach our clients to help get them more comfortable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'll bet when you did your social media posts these past week or two, I'll bet you were like, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, it's like, here we go.
Here we
Right.
go. Yeah. Like,
Here we
woo-hoo.
go. Yeah. And it's funny because I've taught this, and being so again, as a producer and doing that for 20 years, we technically aren't, I wasn't in front of the camera at the network level. They didn't ask me, thank goodness, because I'm not trained for that. Right. And we don't have to be in front of the camera. But ladies, if you're not doing your lives or doing your videos or things like that, I'm sorry, you will not stand out. You know this, Kate. This is why you do your business. You're not, yeah.
It's what, gone are the days of just posting content on social media with text and an image. Yes,
Correct.
it still works. But if that's all you're doing, like I was working with somebody who has only been posting quotes for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Just quotes. Nothing about her, nothing about her clients, nothing about behind the scenes, nothing. Just quotes. Quotes are good to have in the mix, but if that's all you're posting, you're not showing anything about you.
Right.
So, this is, let's just talk about one little more point before we wrap up here.
Yeah.
I believe that the pandemic made us be more real online.
Yeah.
Would you agree or disagree?
Yeah. Well, not only that, I would agree, but it forced us. Now it's no longer an option. It forced us online, and and I watch people go, oh wow, I really have to be online now because everybody is.
Yeah.
So like you said, like when I learned videos 2014, Facebook Live didn't exist, and it was a luxury. Like, oh, we got to start using video. I heard that message in 2014, and so I started. I started figuring out that strategy. I got coaching around that, and now, like, we all hear it. All your business coaches have told you, right, to use video. And then that first people go, but oh my gosh, like, what do I say? What am I saying? And I just want to leave you with this, Kate, that, and everybody, that you have to really understand that person you're speaking to, and just hold them in your mind's eye, hold them in your,
exactly,
in your orbit as you get on video. Because if you're thinking not just the number of people that are out there, you've got to really see them. And this is one of the things I teach. And because it comes up, it's almost like coaching session number 2. It comes up that, but how do I connect with my person? And it's like, you've got to hold them. You have to see them in their pain or their struggle.
Right.
You have to see them, like, so for you, Kate, seeing them kind of frustrated that they aren't, up the line on not social media, but when they're Googled, right? They don't have a LinkedIn profile. They're not standing out. They don't have the visibility.
Right.
And when you see your client, if you're a relationship coach, see them kind of fighting all the time with their partner. And that will really help you connect with your heart and connect with their heart and what they're looking for.
Absolutely.
And
yeah. I mean, I always, even when I'm working with my clients and we're working on the copy part of their LinkedIn profile, like specifically their about section, where we're using story, like who you are, what you do, and how you help, envision your reader.
Yes.
And talk to them, because we're really good at talking about the things that we do, like the features. We're not so good at talking about the benefit we provide.
Right.
Because we feel like if we talk about the outcome that we're somehow being braggy. And I think that same mindset carries over into what do we do in front of the camera. Yeah. So, I was going to just kind of leave our listeners today with some tips, is think about what your pillars of content are. You already are probably doing that on some level for the social media, the curation of content. So whatever those pillars of content are that you already kind of have, like educational, behind the scenes, sharing other people's content, that can be a pillar, like not just some, right? But carry that over into your video. Again, envision your client, envision your audience, think about what it is they want to learn. And I'll leave a really good tip here. If you are on LinkedIn, you can actually do polls on LinkedIn. This is something that should be done judiciously. Some people do polls like every week and it's like over the top. But if you do it, like, gauge your audience, or if you do an email, if you do an email newsletter, ask your audience for feedback. What is it they want to learn about from you? And ask that question so that when you get all these responses and feedback, ask your existing clients when you are at the end of the work with them, say, what were some of the top 3 things that you didn't know about? Ask these questions, because that's going to give you your ideas for content, which could be your videos. And then you create videos to answer those questions.
Yeah. Great point.
So when somebody says, okay, I create all these videos, am I giving away the farm? Are they not going to bother? What do you say to that?
I love that question. I go, and a lot of people teach this, but it's like, oh my gosh, they're giving me this for free. What do I get when I actually pay them?
Right.
Okay. So it actually builds trust. And, I'm here like camera tips, messaging tips, all the, confidence tips. I'm giving it away. But guess what? People still need accountability. They still need specific strategies. They're like, great, speak to one person. Got it, Elizabeth. Got it, Kate. Are you actually now going to just do that?
Right.
And chances are no. So I don't think we're giving away the farm at all. Now,
I agree.
Yeah.
I think what we're doing, it goes back to visibility and giving first share always, right? You really are trying to serve people. But if you want it to be easier and faster and more in depth, then you hire a coach. You hire me, you hire Elizabeth, you hire whomever you need to hire to help you get there faster. And that takes an investment of time and resources.
Right. Correct. Yeah. And I'm not, so people won't see all your content. It's light tips, light value, you're not teaching them your online course.
Right.
Right. You're not doing a 30-minute module.
Right.
Now you are maybe in a free webinar, of course, you better show me that you've got some strategies and teach me that. And I may take it, and take and run with it. Or guess what? I'm going to realize like, oh, I know she's got more strategies. I just need to hire her to get this done, like you said, faster.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to wind down here. So I want to thank you again for making the time to be here today. This was really fun. I keep having these visions of like when we were like little kids, and like here we are on screen right now, and we're kind of in this similar world. And I just think it's so cool. I feel really blessed that we have this connection.
Yeah, me too. I feel honored, and I so appreciate you having me. And favorite memory, the under the ping pong table fort. Just gonna say it.
Oh my God, that was so fun. Yep, we did. We had a fort under the ping pong table. We even had a black and white TV in it. And when we played the TV, it got so hot. Wait, I want to ask you one thing. What lights you up about the work you get to do?
Well, I love that question. But when the ladies start getting more views like that, I'm like, yes, like, going from 300 views to 10,000 views. I'm like, that's why I do this work, because they get the views. Their work is now more out on the planet, in the world. And now they can change those lives and make a difference. Like, to me, I'm like, yes, more. You all need more views on this stuff. And yes, more, bigger bank accounts. And that's, in the formula too. But that to me is, getting talent out in the world. It's always been my jam.
Do you ever speak?
Yeah, I do. I have, and I do, and I'm doing more of it.
So, okay, great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to pop up your website here again, just for everybody to see it. So you can learn more about Elizabeth at her website at elizabethwalkermedia.com. So Elizabeth, I want to thank you for having water with me today.
Yes. Cheers. Great conversation.
Thank you so much. Please stay on after I cancel the broadcast. I don't want to say goodbye to you quite yet. All right. Thanks, everybody. I will be reposting the replay. It'll also be on my YouTube channel. And it'll also end up being in the blog on my website. So thanks, everybody, for being here. And we will be back next month with another Coffee with Kate. Thank you.